The year is 1962. The world watches as the United States and the Soviet Union lock horns in a perilous Cold War standoff. Nowhere is this tension more palpable than in the Caribbean, where a young revolutionary named Fidel Castro has seized control of Cuba. Castro's alignment with the Soviets, a mere 90 miles from American shores, sends shockwaves through Washington. Fear and paranoia grip the nation. In the corridors of power, a shocking plan begins to take shape. This is the story of Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods was not a plan for liberation or defense. It was a blueprint for deception, a scheme to manipulate the American public and the world. The plan, hatched within the highest echelons of the U.S. military, reads like a Hollywood script. It proposed a series of false flag operations, acts of terrorism staged on American soil and blamed on Cuba, to justify an invasion. This was not a rogue operation conceived in the shadows. Operation Northwoods had the backing of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking military officers in the United States. It was a testament to the paranoia and desperation that had gripped the nation's leaders. The plan was presented to President John F. Kennedy, a young and untested leader facing immense pressure to eliminate the communist threat in Cuba. To understand the audacity of Operation Northwoods, we must first delve into the crucible of the Cold War. Following World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, locked in an ideological struggle that shaped the latter half of the 20th century. This rivalry played out not only on the battlefields of Korea and Vietnam, but also in the shadowy world of espionage and covert operations. Cuba, under the leadership of Fulgencio Batista, had been a close ally of the United States. However, Batista's regime was riddled with corruption and brutality, fueling popular discontent. In 1959, Fidel Castro, a charismatic revolutionary, led a guerrilla movement that toppled Batista and seized power. Castro's initial pronouncements were vague, but his actions spoke louder than words. He nationalized American-owned businesses and forged close ties with the Soviet Union. For the United States, this was a nightmare scenario. A communist state allied with its Cold War adversary, just a stone's throw from Florida, was unacceptable. The Eisenhower administration and later the Kennedy administration viewed Castro's Cuba as an existential threat. The stage was set for a confrontation. In the early days of his presidency, John F. Kennedy inherited the unresolved issue of Cuba. The Eisenhower administration had already begun training Cuban exiles for an invasion to overthrow Castro. This plan, known as Operation Pluto, culminated in the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion in April 1961. The invasion was a fiasco from the start. The CIA had grossly overestimated the level of support for the exiles within Cuba. The expected popular uprising against Castro never materialized. Instead, Castro's forces, well-equipped and prepared, swiftly defeated the invaders. Within 72 hours, the invasion was crushed, and over 1,000 exiles were captured. The Bay of Pigs was a humiliating defeat for the United States and a propaganda coup for Castro and the Soviet Union. It cast a long shadow over Kennedy's presidency and fueled his determination to remove Castro from power. However, it also made him wary of direct military intervention in Cuba. Kennedy knew that any future attempt to topple Castro would have to be more subtle, more cunning. This is where Operation Northwoods came in. Section 4, Operation Northwoods, a conspiracy unveiled. The plan was as audacious as it was chilling. Operation Northwoods called for the CIA to carry out a series of covert operations within the United States and blame them on Cuba. These operations ranged from the relatively mundane, like sinking a U.S. Navy ship in Guantanamo Bay and blaming Cuban saboteurs, to the truly shocking. One proposal called for staging a terrorist attack in Miami, complete with casualties, and planting fabricated evidence linking the attack to Cuba. Another called for hijacking a plane full of American college students and making it appear as if it had been shot down by Cuban MiGs. The goal was to create a wave of public outrage and fear, providing the pretext for a full-scale invasion of Cuba. The plan's architects, men like General Lyman Lemnitzer, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, believed that the American people would rally behind their government in the face of such aggression. They underestimated the moral compass of the young president they served. Section 5. Kennedy's resolve, a line in the sand. When presented with Operation Northwoods, President Kennedy was appalled. He recognized the plan for what it was, a dangerous and morally reprehensible scheme that would undermine the very principles the United States claimed to uphold. Kennedy, already burned by the Bay of Pigs fiasco, refused to endorse the plan. He understood that while the threat posed by Castro was real, the solution lay not in deception and manufactured outrage, but in diplomacy and strategic restraint. Kennedy's rejection of Operation Northwoods marked a turning point in his presidency. It demonstrated his willingness to stand up to the military establishment and assert civilian control over the armed forces. It was a bold move for a young president facing immense pressure to act decisively against communism. Kennedy's decision revealed a depth of character and a commitment to ethical leadership that would define his legacy. Section 6. Echoes of Northwood's Lessons Unlearned. Operation Northwoods remained a closely guarded secret for decades, hidden from public view until 1997 when the John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Review Board declassified a trove of documents, including the Northwoods proposal. The revelation sent shockwaves through the United States and abroad. It was a stark reminder of the potential for government deception and the importance of civilian oversight of the military. The echoes of Operation Northwoods can still be felt today. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, the Bush administration's use of fabricated evidence of weapons of mass destruction to justify the invasion of Iraq drew chilling parallels to the Northwoods proposal. These incidents serve as cautionary tales, reminding us that the line between national security and manufactured consent is thin and easily blurred. Operation Northwoods stands as a stark warning from history, a reminder that even in the darkest of times we must never abandon our principles. The ends do not justify the means, and the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, must always be defended. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and if you appreciate this type of content, stay tuned for more.